Hey guys, my name is Aarek Farmer and I'm going to be here today talking to you a little bit about how to use your possessions for God. And I feel like I'm the best guy to talk to you about this because I feel like God has really blessed me with this idea of how I can use my possessions for Him. I've traveled the world. I've been to third world countries when I was in college, and when I did that, I got to see all these kids who don't really have what we have. And so in seeing all that, I've realized that, man, I have so much to be thankful for. And I feel like constantly I'm obligated to thank God for what He's given me because I have so much stuff. And just when you look around at some of this stuff, you can look at this table. I've been blessed with so many things. Like, for example, I have the most amazing phone in the world. And some of you may have, this is the iPhone. And because of this phone, I'm able to text my friends. I'm able to encourage them. I'm able to ask them for prayer requests. I'm able to do all kinds of things with this phone, and it's purely for God, and I'm so thankful that He's given me this phone. Also, if you look, this is just a few of the clothes that I have in my closet. God's blessed me with all these clothes, and I know these clothes allow me to walk around and not be naked so that y'all don't lust after me. And I'm so thankful for that because there's so many people in the world that have to wear one outfit just over and over, and I have a closet full of clothes that I never have to wear the same thing more than once in a couple months. Also, God has done amazing things. I have all these movies that He blesses me with. Every time a new movie comes out, I have the money to go buy it. I have Wreck-It Ralph, I have Soul Surfer, I have all these good movies. And because of that, I'm able to invite kids over from the youth group. I'm able to encourage my family to have family nights. We're able to talk about these good movies. And it's so great that I have this entertainment for people around my community. Also, God has given me the most amazing headphones. If you don't know, these are called Beats. They're made by Dr. Dre. And he gave me these, and I'm able to walk around and just put these on. I just drowned out the world because there's so much negativity that the world throws at us. And I definitely am able to use these to glorify Him by keeping all that negativity out. And so I can just put these on and just focus on what God wants me to focus on. Also, God has blessed me. We've recently had a new child, and I have this house that God's given me, and it's not huge, but it's big enough for us to use to invite people into our home. We get to have Bible studies. This is our house. As you can see, it's got nice green grass. It's got some trees. I'm so pumped that I'm able to use this house to invite people over for Bible studies and fellowship. Also, this was the car that I was able to purchase in cash. God gave me this money to purchase this car, and it's got amazing gas mileage. It's a Jetta. She is my baby. I'm able to drive around with great gas mileage. Whenever people need a ride, I can just drive over there and pick them up. And so God's given me all these things that I can use for Him. And also, every Sunday, when it comes time to giving back to Him, I'll just look in my wallet, and no matter what I've done over the weekend, I never know how much money I'm going to have because there's no telling what I've done that's been fun. But I always have this money left in my wallet, and I can look in there and I'm always able to pull out what I feel like He deserves to have back. And so I'm giving money anytime I need to. And then when it comes to just thinking about all these things, I realize, you know what? I kind of deserve all this stuff. For example, I went to school for 23 years, and I have a good job. I'm able to work tons of hours so that I can have money, and I deserve this stuff. And the stuff that I have, I don't have near what other people have, and they complain about it, and I'm content. I'm always thankful for what I have, and I'm able to use everything that I have for God. And I'm so thankful for that. When you think about it, a lot of us have that same mentality. Man, I needed that. Have that same mentality that everything that we have is ours. We say to ourselves, I deserve the things that I have. We say to ourselves that the things that I have, I'm going to use for God in these right ways. And that we give back to God what we think that He deserves. And we use these strange misconceptions and these ideas, and we boost ourselves up by the things that we have. But when you look at Proverbs 3, chapter 9, he tells us, honor the Lord from your wealth and from the first fruit of all your produce. And when I read that verse, I think, man, I really don't give God my best. I don't honor God with my possessions. And because of that, it makes me feel bad. But there's a couple things that we can do to really help us get back on track and realize that there are some things that we can do to really use our possessions for God. The first thing that we can do is we can give God our best. And I realize I don't honor God the way that I do, and I don't honor God with my best things, especially when I read this verse. This verse tells us that we should honor God with our wealth. And it makes me think, when I just look at my phone, I do the things that I want to do with it. I text people, and with my leftover time, I might send in an encouraging text. I might make an encouraging phone call. But for the most part, it's all about me. Also, when I think about giving God my best, it makes me think of two brothers in Genesis. If you would, turn with me to Genesis chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4, we read about two brothers named Cain and Abel. And we see how they gave some of their possessions to God and how it turned out. In Genesis chapter 4, verses 3 through 5, it states, "So it came about in the course of time that Cain brought an offering to the Lord of the first fruit of the ground. Abel, on his part, also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and for his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard." And we see in this idea that, here we have two brothers. Cain brought his fruit from the ground. We see that Abel brought some meat. But we see that there's a completely different idea in terms of what they brought. We see that Abel brought the best part. He brought his fat portions, he brought his firstlings. And we see that when it says what it said about Cain, it said God had no regard for what he brought. And so that we can see he either didn't bring it in the right way or he brought the wrong type of offering. And just from that alone, we can see that there's a certain way that we're supposed to provide God with our offerings. Whether it be our time, whether it be our possessions, whether it be whatever. There's a right idea in terms of how we do it. The second thing that we can do is give God our trust. Matthew 19:21 tells us a little bit about the conversation with Jesus and the rich young ruler. If you would, open up with me to Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19, we get a glimpse of this conversation. Jesus says to him, "If you wish to be complete, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come follow me." But when the young man heard this statement, he went away grieving, for he was one who owned much property. Here we have this man who felt like he had done everything that he needed to do. He had done all these things, and here Jesus says, you know what, if you really want to be complete, sell all that you have. Get rid of all this stuff. Give to the poor, and just come follow me. And this man walked away sad because he had so much stuff. He had so much stuff he couldn't trust God. Our society is to the point that where we feel like we can only give as much to where we don't lose our comfortable lifestyle. Imagine if you were on Sunday morning and the offering tray comes by and you look in your wallet and you've got $25. The majority of us are probably going to pull out a $5, drop it in the plate, and feel like we're something special because the guy next to us didn't even give anything. Imagine how much trust we would be putting in God if we pulled out $20. Or even better yet, if we gave Him every bit of it and just trusted that God's going to take care of us. It reminds me of the widow when she gave all that she had. It was only a little bit, but she gave everything and trusted that God was going to take care of her. How often are we willing to sacrifice so much that we can just completely trust God with all that we have? The third thing that we can do is simply give God your heart. And I know that makes it sound kind of cliche, but when you think about it, if you can give God your heart, giving Him your best and giving Him your trust comes naturally. And imagine how awesome it would be to naturally be able to give God your best and to trust Him. Look at Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. Tells us that no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. I look at this verse and it really saddens for me because I realize how much I love things in this world. And God tells us that we cannot serve wealth and we can't serve Him. And I think it's because He knows that our hearts aren't big enough. We can't have so much stuff and expect to be able to serve God too, because the more we have, the more we're going to be pulled away from God and the less we're going to be focused on Him. So if we truly want to love God and give Him our hearts, maybe for you it simply means to just downsize. Get rid of some of your stuff. Have less. And if you have less, maybe you can truly give God your focus. And in conclusion, you're probably thinking, man, this is going to be so hard. How can I give God my best, give God my complete trust, and give Him my heart? And if I give Him all three of those things, it's going to be so difficult. Well, luckily, we have another guy that gives us a little help in this area. Timothy tells us a little bit also on this topic about our possessions. Turn to Timothy, chapter 6, verses 17 through 18. And he's speaking to the rich here. He says, "Instruct those who are rich in this present world not to be conceited or to fix their hope on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly supplies us with all things to enjoy. Instruct them to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and share, storing up for themselves the treasure of a good foundation for the future, so that they take hold of that which is life indeed." If you're a family that just has one car in your household, that means that you are among the richest of the world. And he's talking to us. But luckily, he gives us a few tidbits on how to really look at our possessions and glorify Him with those. He tells us that don't be fixed on the things of this world. Don't focus on the best phone, the best shoes, the best clothes, all these new things that you get to keep up with the Joneses. He's telling you to focus on things that are eternal. Don't focus on the things that you have to have, the things that you must have. He also tells us to do good works with the things that you have. If your grandma just got you an easy bake oven, use it to bake things for your elderly in your congregation. If you just were given a car on your 16th birthday, use that to give people rides. If you're lucky enough to have clothes and all this stuff, use them in a way that other people are lifted up and not lift up yourself all the time. Don't think of these things as my hat, my clothes, my shoes, my computer, my phone, because in reality, none of it's yours. And if you look at it like it's yours, you can't do the other thing that he's talking about, which is to be generous and share your things. If you look at all these things and think that this stuff is mine, you're not going to share it with the Lord. Think about how easy it is to give away other people's stuff. It's difficult to give away your own stuff. So look at it for whose it really is and that it's not yours. And the last thing he tells you to do is to simply think about eternal stuff. Pray, encourage, study, meditate. Think about those things that He wants you to do so that you can truly be focused on Him. And in the end, when you think about it, if you start giving God your best, if you trust in Him, and if you give Him your heart, all these possessions that you feel like that you own are eventually going to be going back to the owner of who they really are, which is God, and you're truly going to be able to use those possessions to glorify Him.